Happy Friday. You are listening to the She Heals Radio Show on Awesome God Radio. I am your host, Whitney J. It is Friday, August 30th, 2019. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, thank you so much. Click the like button, leave us a comment, and share it to your page. If you haven't already, download the free Awesome God Radio app. You listen, there are so many amazing shows. You will never go without. So make sure you get that free app, and also go on www.awesomegodradio.com. Click on the AGR subscribe. You can actually watch live on there as well. So there are so many ways that you can get plugged into all things Awesome God Radio. I pray that you've had a wonderful week. It is now officially Labor Day weekend. I hope you have some great plans with your friends and your family as we are kind of transitioning to the unofficial but kind of official end of summer and transitioning into the school year and all of those things. We have an amazing woman of God that is going to join us on the second half, Miss Katrina Portis. We're going to talk all things real estate. And I am just super pumped up for the She Heals Inspiration segment. We are just going to be chatting today about moving. And so it's funny that we're talking about real estate this in the second half and about physically moving, getting a new house or a condo or whatever. But I want to talk a little bit about just the different transitions that can take place. So, we are going to a brand new school year. And, I was talking to a coworker before I left my school today, and I said, I feel so unsettled this year. Like, normally I have an airtight plan and I'm planned out for the first week of school, and I got everything in order. And I said, this year, so many things have been going on, and it's been really hard for me to kind of get centered, to get focused. I kind of feel, not as prepared as I usually am. And, for people that know me personally, I like to be well planned in pretty much every area of my life. I like things a certain way. I like, order. I don't really do things unless there is a strategic plan in place. And it's interesting because God has me in a very unique season of doing everything totally outside of how I naturally do things. And so, over this summer, he, put some things on my heart to do. And he kind of just said, do them. And for once, I kind of just said, okay, God. So normally when God tells me to do something, I got to think about it. I got to pray about it. I have to figure out a plan of how that's going to look. And, every once in a while, though, I get it right. And when he gives a direction, I follow it. And so this summer has been all about following those directions. And it's requiring me to embark on a lot of transitions that I was not prepared for. And so we'll talk about a little bit of that in the second half. But, for this She Heals Inspiration segment, I just want you to just be encouraged that when God gives you a mandate, an assignment that seems like it came out of nowhere and it goes against everything that you may be, right? If you're a planner, it requires you to kind of step into the unknown. If you are someone that, needs every single detail and he's only giving you one step at a time, embrace it. It's uncomfortable and no one wants to feel uncomfortable, but there is no growth unless you are uncomfortable at times. And so I have found that in the last couple weeks that I have grown, because me a year ago, me 2 years ago, I would have been quit this. I wouldn't have even attempted it because it didn't fall in alignment with my need to have things in a certain order and have certain steps in a certain timeline. But being uncomfortable is where growth takes place. So if you are always waiting for a well stretched out plan that you've developed, not what God has developed, but what you have developed, you're setting yourself up to be stagnant because you cannot go to the next level with God. You cannot do the unique things that God wants you to do if you continue the same thing. We know that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So how can I say, God, stretch me? God, I want to grow and I want to be deeper if every time he gives me an assignment, I approach it the same way. And so that is what this season has been about. And he has given me no let up. I've been seeking this whole time. I've been trying to find that moment where I can breathe, right? Like, okay, now I can chill. Now this step happens. So now I can take that deep breath and I don't have to press as much and I don't have to be as uncomfortable. But he's literally making it so that I'm uncomfortable the entire process. Every time I think, oh, maybe I can, there's something else that comes along that I have to, go to him with, like, Lord, what about this? Lord, how are we going to do this? Lord, provide for that. And I think that's because when we get comfortable we stop relying on him. So how many times have you really been in a situation where you are believing God at all costs? Like you are totally dependent on him to make a way. And the only way that things are going to get done is if he does it. And so you are literally in his face all the time. You are in your word. You are fasting. You are praying. You are worshiping. You're seeking him with everything that you have. And then God answers that prayer. And what typically happens is we back up a little bit, right? Because that pressure of, oh my gosh, God, I need you, I need you, I need you is gone because God has fulfilled the need. And so he will, then kind of come back to us and say, well, wait a minute. Pursue me when everything is okay with the same energy that you pursued me when things were in, disarray. Don't just go and seek me and pray and fast and be so diligent and so consistent and determined when you're believing me for something, but then neglect me once I give you what you're believing me for. So I think that in this season, it's God is showing me like I'm making you uncomfortable in every area because I need you to grow in every area. There are some things I'm trying to break off of you. There are some ways and some habits that I'm trying to change in you. In order for me to do that, I'm gonna have to stay on you. Just think of it's like that parent, right? You're like, oh my gosh, why is my mom or my dad always on me? And it's to help you grow. And so God has me in this season, and it's very uncomfortable. There are so many unknowns. There's not a clear path. It's just, God, I know what you said. That's all I have is what he told me to do. And so I'm looking at the end goal of what he told me is going to happen. And I'm looking at where I am now, and I'm not really seeing how this is all going to play out. But that is the best part because that is where your faith is activated. If in order for you to follow God's will, you have to see the whole plan up front, there is no faith involved. God is not going to show you everything up front. He wants you to be relying on him. He wants you to be in with him during the entire process. He can't do that if he lays out the plans. However, everybody is different. So for me, if you gave me a list of instructions, I literally would not bother you until they were done. I could take those instructions and I would work out my plan and I would do all of those things. Some people, if you gave them a list of instructions, they may need you for every single one. They're going to come and ask you a question for every single step. Everybody is different. But the point is that God never wants us separated from him during the process. And a lot of times we want to just get to the end game and we don't want to go through the process. And so then we'll start doing things to kind of speed up the process, to try to trick the process. And then what we end up finding out is we'll come and it could be a month later or a couple months later or a year later, we will be in a similar circumstance. And you're like, how did I get back here? And it's because you didn't learn the lesson the first time. And so you have to attend to the process. There is no shortchanging with God. If you want more from him, if you want what he has for you, which is better than you can ask or imagine, you're going to have to endure the process. And so for me, this process, it's just been amazing. There are so many different layers. There's so many different things that are going on. And, oftentimes I'm like, God, like, how is all this going to work out? And how am I doing all of these things right now? I have so many things going on. And God has continuously shown me how he has provided for me. And just the way that there were solutions that came before the problem was even addressed. Before the problem was even brought to the forefront, there was already a solution that was already in the wings. So God sets you up for everything. If he is calling you to do something, he has already prepared every detail. He's not like us. He's not taking it one step at a time like, oh, well, let me see what I'm going to do here. No, he already knows every intricate detail. He knows when you're going to follow him with your whole heart. He knows when you're going to slip and you're going to mess up. He knows, when you become impatient, what you might do. He knows the whole thing, and he is with us through the entire process. So my question to you is, you want it, right? You want whatever that is for you, whatever you're believing God for. Are you willing to endure for it? And are you willing to do what looks unlikely to get to where he is calling you to be? Sometimes the reason why our prayers don't seem like they're being answered is because we have some disobedience in our life. And sometimes one act of obedience will answer some other prayers. I remember years ago when God called me to go to school. And I'm thinking to myself, how on earth am I going to go to school? I'm a young wife, I'm a young mom, we serve in ministry, I have a full-time job. How am I going to go to school? Like, but I was praying and I was saying, God, strengthen me. God, encourage me. God, help me with my time management. Help me to make the most out of my days. God, help me with knowledge and help me to reach my full potential. And so I was praying all these things and it seemed like God wasn't answering, but all he was saying was go to school. And I'm like, well, this doesn't even make sense. But when I went to school, I learned how to be disciplined with my time management because I had to learn how to balance my schoolwork with being a wife and a mom and working and serving in ministry. When I went to school, God started showing me, once I started taking classes, he started to reveal what his will for my life was, what my purpose in this life was. All of that came on the other side of my act of obedience to do what he said. So if you are believing God for things and it seems like he's not listening or he's not answering, I dare you to go back to that thing that he told you to do that you have not done and do it. Take the first step today, and you will be surprised how things move and how things change. And you just never know. The very thing you're believing God for could be on the other side of your obedience, but you have to do the work. We can't continue to want all of this of God and not be willing to put in any work. We say this to our kids all the time, right? Like, you have to work for things. You have to earn for things. Think money doesn't grow on trees. Like, you can't just get all these things. We say that, but do we show them that? Do we show them the value of putting in the work? And it's not just to get the result that we want, but it's to give God glory. But also, you're being strengthened during the process. You're being equipped to handle the very things that God has for you during the process. I said that during that time, I was a young wife, a young mom, working full time, serving in ministry, and a full time student. And there was so much going on, but God was increasing my territory. He was increasing my stamina to handle more because he knew that more was on the other side of this. He knew that my husband was going to get sick. He knew that my husband was going to pass away. He knew that my youngest son was going to be diagnosed with autism. He knew that I was going to have to transition to being a single mother and a widowed woman at age 25. And I was going to have to know how to carry a lot of weight. And so he prepped me beforehand. And that's why that season of me being in school and managing all of those things was so important. He was giving me the strength and the stamina for the next season. And even now, years later, being able to handle being in school again and working and taking care of my kids and having a ministry and having a radio show and being an author and all these other things. Right now, this season feels just as thick and heavy as that season. So what that tells me is you're stretching me again, God. You're increasing my stamina for more, God. This means that whatever you have next, whatever it is that you are calling me to do next or to experience or be a part of next, requires another level of me that I hadn't obtained yet. So even though I might be tired, even though it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't all make sense, God, I trust you. And so I'm going to put a little weight on it. I'm going to allow myself to be stretched in this area. And it means enduring more. And enduring is not always a negative thing. It's not always a bad thing, but there's just more. And if you want more from God, you have to be able to handle more from God. It's kind of like when you're bringing in the groceries, right? Now, I'm that person that I will put groceries, balance them on my head before I go back to the car for a second trip. Like, I will find ways to maneuver my body to get all those bags because I hate having to go back to the car, right? And so you figure it out, right? You have all those groceries, and don't let it be where I have groceries on both hands and, probably 5 or 6 bags on both hands, but there's only one bag that I don't have. You think I'm going to go back in that house and drop all these off and go back and get the one bag, even though that probably makes sense? Absolutely not. I'm going to maneuver my fingers or something. I'm going to figure out how to get that extra weight of that extra bag so I can get to the car. It is the same thing. When God is putting weight on you, it is because he is stretching you. He is increasing your stamina for more. There is a process that is involved, and you cannot get more of God if you do not endure the process. And the process does not always look fun. It doesn't always look pretty. Sometimes it's grueling. I just remember the first couple months after my husband died, and I was in school and I was working, and I had a 5-year old and a 2-year old, and I was just trying to figure all of this out. And this is after the funeral. This is when everybody has gone back and returned to their lives, and I'm trying to kind of figure out what does my new life look like. And it just was so overwhelming. I was at work all day, and then I had the boys, and then when they went to bed, I went to school. I was getting my degree online, and so I had reading and tests and quiz and papers and things to do afterwards, and it just didn't seem like it made sense. It didn't seem like, why on earth I can't do this. There were so many times that I would just say, I cannot do this. And, God would send people to help. Shout out to my best friend Tay that would come over. Mind you, she is a wife and has children of her own, would come over and play in the basement with my kids so I could take a quiz. Or, would help me, tutor me through my math work and, just trying to help me and be a support. You have to, when you're in process of something, you can't do it by yourself. You have to have people. And that's where we get caught up every single time. And some of us take on the mentality of, I got it. I don't need nobody. I can do it myself. And you will find that you tap out very quickly when you do that. Ask God to show you who are the people in your community or in your circle that you can depend on, that you can do this process with. You're going to need people, even if for nothing else, just people to encourage you. People just to say, hey, hang in there. You got it. I just recently started my PhD, and literally I'm in the second week. And last week I was like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. Like, I cannot believe with all that's going on, God is calling me to do this right now. And like, I remember looking at the syllabus and I was like, I don't have time for this. And getting that pep talk from the people in my support group that's like, listen, girl, you got this. Take it one assignment at a time, one class at a time. You got this. If God told you to do this, he's going to equip you throughout the entire process. So you need people to encourage you. You need people to hold you accountable. This is where it gets thick, because a lot of times we want the encouragement and we will take that. We don't want the accountability, because what accountability is not is me co-signing everything that you do. Accountability is when I say, okay, you set this goal, but your actions are not in alignment with that goal. So what's up? That's when it gets tricky. I remember joking with my friends about, I wanted to lose some weight. And I, had all of these plans. I had all these things. I'm a planner. So this is what I do, right? So I had all these plans of what I was going to eat and exercise routines. And I'm going to do this here and that. I had a whole strategic plan. And I did absolutely 100% none of it. I didn't do any of the things. And so, my friends were like, okay, so like this plan is great, but like creating the plan isn't what gets the results. Doing the work is what gets the results. So you're saying that you want to be healthier. You're saying you want to lose 10 pounds, but you are at Outback all the time. You are at Chick-fil-A all the time. So what your actions are not in alignment with your goal. So what is your goal exactly? Are you really serious about losing weight? Because if so, you got to change this. Are you serious about saving money and being a better steward of your finances? Because the amount of times that you're at Chick-fil-A adds up, right? That $5-6 adds up over time. And so are you really trying to be better? Are you really trying to not be in the same situation over and over again because your actions don't line up? And so that accountability piece is humongous, and it is not for the faint at heart. So if you are looking for a co-signer, this is not for you. If you are really seeking accountability, it requires being honest, it requires being transparent, and it requires you to be able to do the work. You have to be able to receive the feedback, good or bad, good and bad. And so in order to go through the process and to get more of God and to trust God and trust his process, there has to be some accountability. So you cannot do it by yourself. So if you find yourself, you're trying to be this one man or one woman show, you are destined for frustration, because it is a job that you cannot do alone. God never intended for us to do things alone. So as you are in transition, as you are moving through whatever God is calling you to or calling you away from, you have to make sure that you have some accountability. That actually brings me to my next part. Something has to go. Something has to go. A lot of times when God is bringing you to something, it requires you to leave something or someone or some situation. No, there's a transition in place. So, I can't say to my kids, I can't wait till the day y'all graduate high school if they never leave elementary school. They've got to go through the process. They have to leave one thing to go to another thing. So I can't say, oh, I want to move, I want to buy a house if I'm unwilling to leave the house or the place that I'm currently at. You have to be willing to walk away from the things that are no longer a part of your life or your season and be able to walk toward the things that God has for you. Now, this is not to be mistaken with people that just cut people off all the time. That is not the same thing. God will sometimes require us to separate from people or from places or from different circumstances. But I'm not saying that when in doubt, oh, it's a new season, I'm cutting everybody off and starting fresh. No. If God didn't tell you to do that, don't do that. But what I am saying is, in order to go to something, you're going to have to leave something behind. And a lot of us are thinking that we're stuck and we think that God is ignoring us and he hasn't heard us. But really, it's that we are unwilling to leave that thing. So I'll share about myself. The past couple years, I'm like, Lord, I want more of you. Lord, this cannot just be the end of my life. Lord, I want to do more with my kids. I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to do trips. Lord, I want to be in a better place financially. Lord, I want to do more ministry work. Lord, I want to love again. I want to be loved again. I want to get married again. Lord, there are so many dreams that I have. And so God placed on my heart, well, you're going to have to make a move. And, this was 2 years ago. And I was like, I'm not moving. I'm not doing that. We're established here. We have our routines here. We're settled here. I'm not moving. And so for 2 years, I was in this battle of, God, I want more of you. Why aren't you hearing me? He's like, but I gave you a direction. I did hear you. It's just that I didn't say that what you wanted to hear. I'm telling you that you need to move. And so finally, 2 years later, this summer, I'm like, okay, God, I did a fast and I'm like, Lord, what will you have me to do? I'll do whatever. Like sometimes you get to that place where you finally just submit and you say, thy will be done. Okay, God, what do you want me to do? And he said, move. And I said, okay. I don't know how I'm going to move. I don't know where I'm going to move to. I don't know what this looks impossible. I don't know what schools my kids are going to go to. I don't know if they're going to mesh well with those schools or that neighborhood. I don't know, God. But I'm going to step outside my comfort zone and I'm going to trust you that if this is what you said, you're literally going to have to walk me through it because I have no way to see how this is going to work out. I'm looking at my circumstances. I'm looking at my bank account. I'm looking at all of these things and I just don't see how this is going down. But Lord, if you said it, you will do it. And so I have been on this journey since. And when I tell you God has blown me away with just the way he has made things crystal clear for me. And even though I am super hard-headed and go back and forth, he has been with me every step of the way. And the amount of things that have been accomplished already that if you would have told me 2 months ago, these things were going to happen, I would have told you absolutely not because there's no way. And God made a way. And he's continuing to make a way. Each and every day, I'm like, oh, how is this going to happen? And how am I going to do this for this house and that for that house? And God has provided. This week, I totally forgot about school shopping. Now, mind you, I'm a teacher. How you forget about school shopping for your own kids? And I'm like, I don't have any money. And I was like having this tantrum, like, it's just more need than there is money. There are so many things I need to do right now in so many different areas, and I just don't know how this is all going to work out. And I was talking to a girlfriend, and she said, well, is it the same God? Are you serving a different God? Because if you're serving the same God that I know, and the same God that you've been serving, he was faithful before. He's going to be faithful again. So why are you worried? If God told you to do this, would he tell you to do this and then say fend for yourself? No. And so when she said that, it checked me. And I had to repent and say, God, forgive me and help me. And when I tell you, just needs have just been met. And everything isn't solved. But everything doesn't have to be solved because this isn't about God checking off the list. Okay, this problem is solved and that problem is solved. This is about my walk. Will I continue to walk in obedience even though I don't see how it's going to work out? Will I continue to walk in obedience even when the opposition hits? Will I continue to walk in obedience even when the unknowns are happening and I feel uncomfortable? This is not about the circumstances. They are so little. This is about the relationship. This is about the growth. This is, Whitney, do you really trust God or not? That is what this season is about. And oftentimes we get so bound by our circumstances. We put all of our energy and our focus and our attention on our circumstances and we miss what God is trying to tell us in this season. He is not worried about those bills that you have that are due. He has limitless resource. He's not worried about the doctor diagnosis. He's not worried about the marital issues. He's not worried about your desire for a spouse or your desire for children or your desire for a business. Or he's not worried about any of those things. He's not bound by those things. He will change them in the blink of an eye. What he is waiting on is, are you going to trust me? He's concerned about the relationship. He's concerned about the condition of your heart and your mind. He's concerned about how you act when you're under pressure, how you act when you're in the storm and you're in the thick of it. That is what he's looking for. And he is not worried about changing your circumstances. He is worried about changing you. So the moment you shift your focus to him and you start to pay attention to what's going on around you, the moment that you start just guarding your heart, checking your words, your thoughts, and your actions, making sure they're in alignment with God's will, and just walking in obedience, even when you don't know, when you're truly activating that faith, you will notice that not only will you change, which will last beyond this current situation, but your circumstances will change as well. So if you are like me and you are in the midst of a lot of transition, hold on. Take it one day at a time. Believe God for miracles. Be still when he tells you to be still. Move when he tells you to move. Trust him. Trust the process. And trust me, it will work out better than you can ask or imagine. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back from the break, we have an amazing woman of God, Miss Katrina Porters. We are going to talk all things real estate. Listen, if you already own a home, listen. If you thinking about owning a home, listen. Everyone needs to listen. You're going to be blessed. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Be right back.
We are 24/7 Awesome God Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to get your praise on. It's time for the Blessed in the City Drive Home Mix with your favorite mixologists, DJ Soul, DJ Craig, DJ Lamont, and DJ L Styles on Awesome God Radio.
An olive has to go through 3 stages for its oil to run. It has to go through the shaking, the beating, and the pressing. And just like the olive, some of you may have felt like you've gone through the shaking, the beating, and the pressing. You went through all of that for your oil to flow. Now your greater is coming. If it had not been for the shame,
Welcome back. You are listening to the She Heals Radio Show on Awesome God Radio. I am your host, Whitney J. Again, it is Friday, August 30th, 2019. Thank you so much for tuning in. I pray that you were blessed by the She Heals Inspiration segment. And now we are back in the studio. I am so excited. I'm not going to give the full story because we'll be here all day. But I just love when God connects you to people. And I was connected with this amazing woman about 4 years ago, 5 years. It's something like that. Yeah. Years ago. And she has just been a blessing in so many ways. She is an amazing woman, but she also, in addition to just being an amazing woman, period, she is an amazing real estate professional. And she is helping me through one of the biggest transitions I think I've ever done. So we'll get into that. But I want to welcome to the She Heals Radio Show, Miss Katrina Portis.
Hello.
Hey, Trina.
Hey.
I am so happy that you took time to be with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes, I know. It's so cool. So I know I know you personally, but tell our listeners who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Yes. So, yes, my name is Katrina Portis. I am a real estate agent. I like to call myself a real estate professional because my role is a little bit larger than a real estate agent. But yeah, I started off in real estate. It's been about, I would say it's been close to 10 years now.
Wow.
That I started off in real estate. And I actually started off, let me back up a little bit. I was introduced to real estate by my dad, actually. Yeah. My dad was an entrepreneur. He was a serial entrepreneur. So he... He was an electrician by trade, and then he also owned an electrical company, and then he also transitioned into being a landlord and acquiring properties and just being an investor. So, as a child, I was around real estate. I was around, houses and his business. And so I was introduced at a young age just to the idea of houses and, buying versus renting and all of that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So anyways, it's been about 10 years for myself that I've actually came into the real estate industry, not as an agent, but as an investor. I started off as an investor about 10 years ago. And so just a few years ago, I actually decided to get my real estate sales license to, kind of assist people that I know with buying and selling homes.
Yes.
I had a pretty vast knowledge, I would say, coming in just from a different side of it, being an investor. And just, of course, from the home ownership aspect, I'd already purchased my home and I had my own experience with my agent. And, so I just kind of had various vantage points, I would say, coming in. So anyways, I've had my real estate license for a few years now, and I've really enjoyed just kind of assisting people in the process because it's a really... it's quite a journey, as I'm sure you know.
Listen to me. Okay. So I haven't really been sharing much about it, but I'm in the process of selling my house and buying a new house at the same time.
Yes.
And Trina,
Yes.
I probably owe Trina, I don't even know, a child in my next life or something, because she has just been so informative. And let me just say this before we hop into everything, that when you find yourself ready to get a good real estate professional.
It's necessary.
I will say that I have called Trina a lot. I've been asking a lot of questions because my situation is every situation is unique, right? We're buying a home, but doing two at the same time, and there are so many variables, and she just, every time, I've always felt well prepared. And it's to the point where I'm talking to people about buying a house and they're like, "Are you a real estate agent?" And I'm like, "No, my realtor is just really good." So make sure you get a good professional. But I wanted to ask you this because I know a lot of people, there are some people that just want to buy and they may not be quite sure why. There are some people that are renting and they just don't see that it's possible to buy. What is the major advantage of buying versus renting?
Oh, wow. Yeah, there are many advantages of buying over renting. I'll start down the list. Let's see. Number one, well, I won't go in any particular order, but there are various. You have tax benefits. So you have tax deductions. So for example, you can, when you're reporting your taxes, in April or February, or whenever you report your taxes, you can deduct the mortgage interest, the interest. You can deduct your taxes on your home, and you can deduct your insurance on your home, and then basically that makes your taxable income less.
Nice.
So that's a very, very big benefit. And also, you can also deduct any various upgrades that you make on your home and that kind of thing. So a lot of people like it for the tax benefits, really. That's a major one. Also, a fun one for me is that you can customize your space a bit more, right?
Yes, it's your space.
Absolutely. Versus renting, you go in, and I mean, you'll be lucky if you can ask the owner if you can paint.
Right, right.
Because I know the way that a lot of leases, the way that they're set up, they may allow you to paint, but guess what? They're going to want you to paint it back before you leave because they want it
to be the same as
absolutely, if they allow you to paint. So I think that's a really fun one, to be able to just, customize the space the way that you like it. You can build onto your home. The possibilities are really endless in that regard. Let's see. Another benefit to purchasing. Oh, yeah. I mean, really, it's still one of the number one ways to build wealth, really. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because, excuse me. When you're purchasing a home, you are building wealth because you are building equity into your home. And there's various ways to build equity into your home. You build it by paying down your mortgage. So as you're paying down your mortgage, you're building equity, as well as the appreciation of your home. The value appreciates, it increases. So you're building equity that way as well. So it's a really good way to build wealth, for yourself, for your family, and create a legacy. Let's see. What are some other benefits? I mean, really, it's a lot of different benefits, but I would say, that I don't tell everyone it's absolutely the thing that you should do all the time, that every person, that's the right choice for every person, is really different. And so when I meet with people, I like to sit with them and talk with them about their specific circumstances, their objectives, their goals in life, because even though there's a lot of benefits to homeownership, sometimes it may not be the best thing for you to do in your life at that particular time. So I like to sit down and talk with people, get to know their story, get to know their objectives and their goals in life, because my ultimate goal is to help you achieve yours. And if home ownership, so my biggest thing, like you were saying earlier today, to the listeners, that I educate, and that's one of the things that I really pride myself on, is educating people.
Absolutely.
Even if that means that I'm providing you with information that may help you make a decision that maybe right this moment may not be the right time.
Absolutely. And I think that honesty is really important, and also knowing the reality of all that comes with owning a home. It is so much more than just, the down payment and all of those things. And it's a great experience. It's an amazing experience. But the more you know, the better you can plan.
Absolutely.
And you can make, like you said, having those goals. And I actually want to touch on that a little bit. When you and I sat down, I'll use us as an example. I remember saying, this is what I'm looking to do. And I had an idea and I had some goals. And one of the things that I appreciated about you is, as we were looking for homes, and, the one thing with the market is, we know sometimes the market goes slow. Sometimes the market goes really, really fast.
Absolutely.
And so this, the summertime is a hot market because people are trying to move before school. And so I remember I was getting to the point where the summer was dwindling down, and I really wanted to be settled by a certain time. And I started looking at houses that probably were not in alignment with what the goals were that we discussed.
Absolutely.
And I love that you immediately were like, no.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We're not going to create an alternate route. We're going to trust this process. We're going to trust God. We're going to trust the process. Why is it so important that those goals are set ahead of time?
Oh, well, I think it's important because, number one, it allows me to understand you, as the agent that's leading you through the process. It allows me to understand you and what the objectives are, because, like you said, every situation is unique. Every person is unique. Every individual circumstance is unique. And so if we're able to set those goals ahead of time, it allows me to ensure that we stay on track.
Yes.
Because, as you experienced,
Yeah.
sometimes, things may not happen as quickly as you want them to.
Right.
Or that sometimes things go quicker than you expect them to.
Yeah.
And so my thing is, I want to know your goals up front so that I can even remind you of your goals.
Yes.
Did I not do that?
You did. Oh, a few occasions we're like, no. We're not
Remember,
doing
yeah,
that.
absolutely. And I would say to you, okay, well, has something changed? Because when we talked about, X, Y, and Z, you told me this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
So
We're not going to shift. We're
No.
not going to settle. Because,
We're gonna-
again, buying a home is such a big deal, right?
It's
not like you
huge.
can be like, oh, I'm good. I
It's
changed my
huge.
mind. Like,
Absolutely.
you have to get in there. So I think that is so important.
Yeah.
And so what are some, let's just say the people that are considering home ownership,
Mm-hmm.
and what are some things that they should know now? Like before they've even gotten a real estate agent, before they've started looking for homes, what are some things that they should know now?
Well, the biggest thing, I think the place you should start really is really working on your credit and your income, your financial
Yes.
situation, because really that's the biggest determining factor as to, number one, if you will be approved for for a mortgage, and then two, how much you will be approved for, which will also dictate where you can go and what you can buy. So I think the biggest thing that, if you're considering home ownership, start with doing a financial check and just looking at your finances. Pull your credit. And it's interesting because I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I asked her, she was asking, she called me about purchasing versus buying and things like that, and I said, well, hey, what's your credit score? And you'd be surprised. She said, I don't know. I don't even want to look. I'm scared to look.
Well, you got to know.
And I was like, honey, listen, okay? It may not be where you want it to be, and it's probably not, because you already told me it's not that good. But the first step is knowing where it is.
Right, and what you can do to get to where
Absolutely.
it needs to be.
As difficult as it may be to look at it, if you have a credit score of 500 or whatever the case may be, or even in the fours, I've seen, you got to know where you're starting so you can create a plan to get to where you need to be. But if you're too scared to even look at it, then we have an issue here we need to talk about. Don't be scared. Do it scared. Don't be scared. But then also, I know some people, I just want to put this out there. Some people are afraid to pull their credit because they feel that it will hamper their credit score.
Right.
And so I think that's the apprehension for some people. So I just want to say that I really recommend creating an account on Credit Karma.
Yes, because it doesn't charge.
It's free. As well as it doesn't hit you can pull your credit, and it does not show up as a hard pull on your credit report. And you can pull it 5 times a day if you want to.
Yeah.
And it actually refreshes every 7 days. So if you pull it 5 times a day, that's really not going to do you any good. But it refreshes every 7 days because obviously different creditors report at different times of the month. And I have it on my phone. You can download the app, creditkarma.com, and you can just pull it up at any point in time. And it really has some really cool tools on there. Has some really cool tools to actually, for example, if your credit score is not where you want it to be, it will actually make recommendations for some things that you can do, and you can simulate your score. And it may say, well, we recommend you pay down, this $5,000. And if you do, this is what your score will be.
Right. So it gives you a chance to put together a plan, a
Absol-
reasonable plan.
Absolutely.
major.
Absolutely. So I definitely recommend starting there. Just kind of doing a financial check, seeing where your credit is, because you need to get it to, a different, you need to get it to a particular score. And, the scores can vary, but different scores qualify you for various interest rates, programs, et cetera, things like that. But your income and your credit, those are the 2 biggest factors.
Absolutely. And then also, I think you talked about earlier about just what are your goals. And so, I think about myself, and I remember us having a conversation about a particular house, and I was trying to settle, y'all, because I was getting nervous, and I was like, well, I can make something work, which this is not the case that you just want to make something work. You really want to be where you need to be. But just even considering, okay, well, I remember you saying to me, well, yeah, this house works for now, but remember, you have 2 boys that are getting older and getting bigger. Mm-hmm. We got to think about in 2 years what this space would look like, and those things. And so looking at your goals not just right now.
Absolutely.
Like, are you planning to stay in this house for 5 years, for 10 years, for
Ab-
life?
absolutely.
What does that look like? And so then for, let's say, those that they've gotten their finances together, they've gotten their credit together. What are there, if some, are there any misconceptions about buying a house that people need to know about, or anything, just any tips you would give about once you're in the actually looking for a home process?
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll reiterate. I think one of the biggest things is it may not. There are times when when this is not the exact time for you. You know, and those are things that we can talk through. Those are things because that's the thing with your real estate professional. Honestly, get someone, guys, that you don't mind that you can be comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because really, it's a lot of conversations to be had, and sometimes we have to know a lot of information
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important to get somebody to connect with someone who you're comfortable with and who you can trust.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to be able to trust them and be able to get those questions answered, or be able to feel comfortable answering them.
Absolutely, because we really get into your business sometimes, but if you can trust us, then you don't have to worry about sharing certain information or trying to withhold certain information.
Right.
Absolutely.
So trust is a big deal too. And I think also just knowing what you want, setting those goals, sticking to those goals. What are some of the things that you see that potential home buyers run up against as it relates to qualifying? So I know you kind of explained a little bit of this with me, of there's what you qualify for, but then you also need to consider what you're going to be paying in closing, all of those factors, what your mortgage is going to be. So just because you qualify, let's just say for a $400,000 house, doesn't necessarily mean you can afford a $400,000 house, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So can you explain how some people can get that confused, or like the reality behind that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you apply online or apply over the phone or go in a lending institution and apply for a loan, they're going to qualify you for it just as much as they can possibly qualify you for, based on the information that you provide regarding your income and your expenses, and when they pull your credit report and kind of marry all of that information up, they're going to qualify you for just as much as they possibly can. Why? Because the more money you qualify for and you're paying them every month, obviously that's the more money they're making off of you every month.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's their end goal, to make as much money as they possibly can. The banks are in it to make money, right? But like you said, the conversation I had with you was, okay, what you qualify for is X, but what are you comfortable spending? And that's important for you to
Right.
know. And that goes back to the financial check that you do at the beginning. If you're currently renting, you're looking at your rental amount and you're looking at your income and the gap between your expenses and your income. And then you ask yourself, do I want to pay exactly what I'm renting, or is my goal, the amount that I'm paying as I'm the rental amount that I'm paying, or do I want to decrease that expense, or or has my income grown over the last 5 years that I've been renting, and now I can really afford more,
yeah.
and I'm comfortable with paying more. So you kind of have to have those conversations. If you're married, obviously you're having those conversations with the spouse, and if you're not, if you're, if you feel that you're financially literate enough to have those conversations just internally and look at your financial, budget and that kind of thing, and establish those things on your own, or if you have a partner, accountability partner of some sort. But you have to basically determine what you're comfortable spending versus what they tell you can qualify for. That's the starting
Right.
point.
And just knowing what that looks like, because what those numbers look
Absolutely.
like. Kind of, I know for just with working with you, the moment we look at a house and I'm like, okay, well, I liked this house. You're like, well, okay, we need to run the numbers.
Absolutely, because a lot, like you said, a lot goes into it, more than just your mortgage. When you're talking to the mortgage company, they have, they are looking at, well, PITI, which is what a lot of people know, the acronym. It's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Well, then also when you move to certain various communities, they have what, a HOA,
Yep.
homeowners association fee.
Yep.
Some have a condo fee.
Mm-hmm.
Some have an HOA fee and a condo fee, if you if you can believe it.
Yeah.
And then there's various in Columbia, Maryland, which is where my office is based out of. A lot of the homes have also a CPRA fee.
Yeah.
The Columbia Parks and Recs Association fee. And all of this is on top of your mortgage, guys, okay?
Right. In addition to.
Absolutely. And then, there's also something called a front foot benefit fee. And I don't want to get, delve too far into the details because that might, get kind of overwhelming for people. But the point is that you have to count all the costs.
Right.
And so my job as your real estate professional is to make sure that before we're making an offer on a home, all of the costs involved.
Yes.
I remember sending Whitney, like she said, on homes that we would put in an offer for or consider putting an offer for. I'm like, listen, just so you know, this one has X, Y, and Z.
Let's
So are
factor
you?
that in.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
Are you
Yeah.
considering all of this? Not just what the lender is saying, but are you considering all this, and are you comfortable there?
Right.
That-
And I think taking that time to run the numbers, I just know for me personally, being a single parent was very important because sometimes you see and you get these numbers, you're like, oh, yeah, I got it. And then
Right.
you start looking, you're like, well, wait, how is my budget changing?
Yeah.
How is things shifting? And so, does this work? Can I actually manage this and
Yeah.
not manage it, manage it comfortably? Which is nice.
Absolutely.
And so I think that information is vital. You want to make sure you have the clear picture of what you're walking into and make sure you're comfortable. There should be a degree of peace that's involved. Of course,
Absolutely.
there is risk. There's risk in everything
Absolutely.
that, has any type of benefit. But I think it's important that you are well informed. So talk to me a little bit about your office so people can know where to find you and can use you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I am a realtor with Keller Williams Realty
Nice.
Center, and we are located, my office is located in Columbia, Maryland, off of Dobbin Road, and the address is 6250 Dobbin Road, actually 6250 Dobbin Road, Suite 140, Columbia, Maryland, 21045. That's my office. But, as realtors, we are all over the place.
I don't think I've seen you there once.
All the time, actually. Yeah, when you went to my office, I'm like, hey, just go there, see the lady at the front desk, and I'll come by and deal with it later. But yeah, because we're all over the place because we're I'm not really servicing clients if I'm in the office all the time, right? So
Right.
I'm out in the streets and showing homes and things like that. So I really I can be reached on my cell phone at any point in time, and I make it a point for me and my service. I make it a point to really be available during that, Winnie.
Listen. I'm like, I know she's sick of seeing my number come across here. But I do like the fact that, and just being in all honesty, I like the fact that I feel connected. I don't feel like I'm out there because, again, I am a homeowner, but buying my first home, the experience is totally different
Completely.
from what is happening now. So I feel like a first-time home buyer all over again because I'm selling a house and buying a new house at the same time, and there's just a lot of different things. So for me, it's such a blessing that I have someone that I can reach out and call real quick when I have a question, or send a text, or send an email, and I don't ever feel like I'm being a bother, and I ever
Absolutely.
don't feel like my question is a stupid question or
Right.
whatever. I always feel well informed and just a part of the process. And I think honestly, that's probably the biggest reason why I'm still doing this, because I'm telling you, I would have been quit. It is a lot of work
Yeah.
involved in doing this. But again, having the right professional makes it such a big deal. And so we are close. Like I said, the time is flying
Oh,
by.
my goodness.
We are
Goodness.
nearing the end of the show. But I want to ask you, just talk to me a little bit about home ownership. So after they have purchased the home, right? Because I know for me, I'll share. When I bought my house, the home I'm currently in that I'm selling, all I was concerned about was buying the house. I didn't think about anything after buying the house. What are some things that we need to consider as we are buying a home? Not just the purchase of the home, but just moving forward.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one. There are certain things. I know we talked about every situation being unique, every person's circumstance being unique, but there are certain things I always recommend to my clients. One of which is purchasing a home
Home
warranty.
warranty, yeah. Yes.
I always recommend it because for that very reason, you buy a home and I don't know why it seems that most times when people buy a home, it's almost inevitable that week after they buy a home, something happens. Something
Yeah.
happens. Something happens. Something goes up. Something, and the first person that they're going to call, that the homeowner calls, is going to be the real estate agent, which I understand because that's who you're connected with through the entire process, right? But that's the reason why I really do admonish my clients to purchase a home warranty, because when you purchase a home warranty, after you close on that home, when something happens, not if, right? Because
Right, 'cause it's a home. So
it's
things are gonna happen.
absolutely. Even if it's a brand new home, because that's a whole nother thing. Because people feel like, oh, if I buy brand new, I won't have any issues. Not so.
Yeah.
But some things things always happen, or things happen sometimes, right? And so with the home warranty, it kind of gives you that peace of mind and covers you in the event that something happens. So if your furnace goes up the week after closing, guess what? You call that home warranty company. They're going to come out. They're going to send someone out to fix it. If they cannot fix it, they will replace it.
Yes.
Right? Same thing for your washer and dryer, your oven, your refrigerator, all these things. Your air conditioner, the condenser unit outside, all these things are covered with the home warranty plan. And so, we're talking, guys, we're talking what, $500 that you have to pay, or you can even pay monthly. $30 or whatever it is a month, and you're buying that peace of mind, because when something happens, then you're covered. So that's really one thing that I would really recommend for
Yes.
anybody out there that's looking to purchase a home. If your realtor hasn't brought up if you have a realtor and you're working with a realtor and they haven't brought up a home warranty, you might want to switch realtors.
Yeah, you just want to have that covering, because
Yeah.
things happen all the time, and there's no way to plan for or anticipate something happening. That's just life, right? It
Yeah,
just happens. So
it's
you
just
want to
life.
be prepared. But for me, I will say I remember buying my home. And just the moment after, I remember that day.
Yeah.
I remember
Oh,
going
it's
to
so awesome.
closing with my
Yes.
aunt, and she took me out to eat afterwards. And it was just such a big
Yes.
accomplishment. And I cannot wait to go to closing
Absolutely.
again.
Absolutely. It's
so
the pride of home. It's the pride of home ownership. I mean, it's still the
Yeah.
American dream, right? But the pride of home ownership, that nothing is better. Like that feeling,
Yeah.
you have it every time, whether you're a first time home buyer or subsequent. You're gonna have that feeling. It's just the pride of home ownership. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's a
Can't beat it.
beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And don't think that it's impossible for you. I don't care what your circumstances are. Look into some things. Do some research. There are so many. We wouldn't even have time to talk about
Absolutely.
all the programs and things that
Yeah.
are available. And you would be surprised that even if it's a no for right now,
Absolutely.
get a plan.
Yeah, and you know what? Absolutely. I want to just touch on that real quick, because some people, they don't know if now's the right time, because the credit, maybe have some challenges with their credit. Well, you know what? I have connections with companies that can help increase your credit score, credit repair companies. And so, you still can look into just kind of getting started on that path. And so
Absolutely.
definitely give me a call, and I can connect you with some people to help get you all along that journey.
Yes, absolutely. And we did that. I
Absolutely.
said, hey, I have some goals. Let me take care of this. And then, we followed up, and I was like, I don't really think I am ready. And I actually was. I didn't
Yeah.
know. And so, trust me, you want to have someone like you.
Sent
Really,
me your
you just-
credit karma score,
I
right?
did. I
Yeah,
did.
she screenshot it and sent it to me. I was like, let's get you pre-approved.
Yes, and I think honestly, within a half an hour, I think I had
Yes.
a pre-approval letter.
Yeah.
So it goes quickly, but you can do this. And trust me, if God has put on your heart to have a home, you will have a home, but you have to go through the process. I am telling you, this is my personal recommendation, and I don't think I've steered you wrong yet. Katrina Portis is the realtor for you. Listen, she is knowledgeable, she is lovely, she is kind, she is anointed, and she will make sure that you are in the best situation. She's not going to have you out there in anything. She will tell you no
Yes.
before she lets you
Yes.
get into it. I
Yes.
know, because
Yes.
she has told me no
Yes.
a couple times.
This is not going to work.
Yeah, this is not it. And so, but she will. And so I just want to leave really quickly. Give your number again. We're going to put all your information in the live.
Absolutely. You can reach me if you call my cell phone number direct, and it is 301-213-8465. And listen, guys, my office hours are 24/7. So if you call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to answer the phone because I'm all about being accessible. So give me a call, 301-213-8465. Again, my office is 6250 Old Dobbin Lane, Suite 140 in Columbia, Maryland. Is
Yeah,
it?
Keller, and it's Keller Williams.
Keller Williams,
So it's
yeah.
Keller Williams. So listen, we will put all her information in the live, but trust me, you want to reach out to her. She will help you get into that dream home. I want to thank you so much, Katrina, for being on the show
Thank you
with
for
us.
having me. This
This
was
is
so much
great.
fun. Oh my gosh. I was
So
nervous, y'all.
now-
I didn't need to be nervous.
Not at all. I told you. So much knowledge. I'm telling you, home ownership is for you. The right time, the right place, the right home, the right realtor. And that is Katrina Portis.
Hey now.
All right, we are wrapping up. It is Labor Day weekend. We are gearing up to go to the best month of the year, September. Shout out to my September birthdays. I pray that you guys have a beautiful weekend. Shout out to Quincy for producing. You're doing an amazing
Yes,
job always.
great job.
In closing, she thinks, she feels, she cries, she prays, she trusts, she fasts, she fights, she overcomes, and ultimately she heals. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Have a wonderful weekend. We will see you back here next Friday. God bless.